Fuck. Sorry, I suck. I'm trying. Blind and confused. Fuck. My eyes are so fucking blurry. It's incredible. I'm so happy I'm bad at this video. My eyes are crying without me. Without my permission or any of that. And it's stressful to me. I need to turn my volume down. Man, that fan's gonna kill me. Chapter 18. Ivy, honey, I hear a car door. Ivy was fully prepared to die of embarrassment. Her poised and refined middle-aged mother had just skipped across the bedroom like an excited schoolgirl and was now hanging out the second floor window, giving her daughter a play-by-play of the action on the ground below. Look at the shine on his sports car, Ivy. Oh, isn't that nice? He's putting the top down for you. Here he comes. He's so handsomely dressed. Honey, I'm so thrilled for you. Sitting at her antique Chippendale dressing table, Ivy sunk her head into her hands and sighed. She had never missed PILAR more. Her young maid had taken the holiday off, and Ivy's mother had taken over the role of personal maid. For hours while she helped Ivy with her clothes and hair, Miss Winthrop had chattered on about the Cranes until Ivy wanted to scream. She loved her mother and didn't have the heart to disappoint her, but she desperately wished Pilar were here so she could confide how she really felt about Julian Crane. Miss Winthrop selected Ivy's ensemble herself, insisting that every facet, fucking damn it, of her appearance be dictated by the extravagant Crane necklace. For the gown, she chose a Dior white chiffon they'd bought last month at a Boston boutique. It was elegant but simple enough not to take away from Julian's jewels at her daughter's throat. Then she swept up Ivy's hair to further expose the girl's neck. Gazing now into her bedroom's antique mirror, Ivy numbly acknowledged that her mother's strategic mission was a success. She had prepared her daughter to become the belle of yet another country club ball. If only Sam could see me. Her fingers automatically reached to open the small antique locket on her dressing table. Sam's handsome photo smiled lovingly out at her. It's so you'll never forget me, he told her when he'd put it around her neck last Christmas. As if I ever could. Ivy had promised him, and she'd refused to take the locket off ever since. Until tonight. I'm going downstairs to greet Julian with your father, said Mrs. Winthrop when the doorbell rang. You look lovely, dear. Come down whenever you're ready. Ivy was ready, but not for Julian. Why can't it be you coming for me tonight, Sam? Are you even thinking of me tonight? Why haven't you answered any of my letters? My stomach is making mad noise. After grabbing her beaded evening bag, Ivy moved toward the staircase and comforted herself with the fact that at least Pilar would be happy that she was going out. Miss Ivy, you will make yourself ill with your sadness, her maid had advised her last night. For your own health, you must get out. Try to have some fun. I cannot bear to see you so sad. Halfway down the steps, Ivy paused to observe the scene in the Winthrop foyer. Julian did look good tonight. Ivy had to at least admit that. He wore a black tailcoat, matching slacks, white vest, shirt, and bow tie, a classic ensemble tailored to perfection to hug his very fit build. Ivy overheard her father complimenting Julian on his clothes. In an easy tone, Julian replied that he'd had them custom made in London by Prince Charles's own tailor. Of course, the tailor claims Charles needs a few extra pockets in his trousers for the crown jewels. Ivy's father laughed with delight. Julian, would you care for a cocktail? Asked Ivy's mother, her face beaming as she approached him. So good of you to ask, Miss Winthrop, but I feel I must decline. After all, I'll be driving your very precious daughter around Harmony tonight, and I wouldn't dream of taking a chance on being less than fully alert behind the wheel. How very responsible of you, Julian, complimented Mr. Winthrop. It's just that I do care for your daughter, sir, and more importantly, I wish to show you that I can take care of her. And if I may add, not just tonight. Well, goodness, did you hear that, Helen? Asked Mr. Winthrop. Yes, she answered, looking even more bowled over than her husband. Standing quietly on the staircase, Ivy was not so much impressed as confused. She had exchanged barely a few words with Julian at his law school graduation party, yet suddenly appeared completely smitten. Certainly, Ivy understood love at first sight. She felt it herself the day that Sam Bennett had rescued her from the ocean. But could a young man as jaded as Julian fall in love that way? Ivy started down the stairs again and saw at once that Julian was now looking up. From the moment he spotted her, his gaze never left her face. Silently, he watched until her delicate evening slippers stepped from the carpeted staircase to the gleaming parquet wood of the Winthrops' foyer. Ivy, he finally breathed, a touch of awe in his voice. You're enchanting. Good Lord, thought Ivy, a bit startled when she finally looked into the forceful planes and angles of his handsome face. Ooh. Sorry. Oh my God, it hurts. Tall, strong, and dashingly handsome, Julian suddenly seemed an overpowering regal presence in the modest entryway of her family's colonial home. Gone. Gone was the smoking boy from the party nearly 2 months ago. Standing before her now was a confident, well-dressed gentleman, gazing at her with the poise and maturity of a grown man, one who gave the impression that he knew exactly what he wanted. Heaven help her, he actually seemed sincere. And with that look of open admiration in his eyes, she couldn't stop her icy armor from melting just a few degrees. Eve Johnson had to admit she hadn't enjoyed singing this much in months. Scat Perkins and his band were hotter than ever tonight, and her voice was in top form, skipping like a smooth stone over the sea of pastel gowns and black flannel jackets. The Harmony Country Club's penthouse ballroom was elegantly designed with floor-to-ceiling French doors and a wraparound balcony that gave spectacular views of the town and harbor. Within the first hour of the red, white, and blue ball, the sun began to set. As twilight overtook the sky, lights began to twinkle in the town and harbor, making the ballroom feel to Eve like a midsummer's dream. How she loved seeing the happy crowd swarm to the dance floor when she began to sing a new number. And what a kick to watch her sultry love songs melt stiff-armed couples into passionate embraces. With soaring spirits, Eve searched the room yet again for any sign of Julian Crane. She had actually talked herself into the idea that he had personally arranged this gig as some kind of surprise for her. He must know I'm here, Eve told herself, which means he probably pulled strings to get me here so he could see me again. He'll be surprising me any time now. I'm sure of it. An hour later, he did. Eve and the band had taken a short break and were sitting at a table beside the bandstand when she spotted Julian arriving on the other side of the crowded ballroom. He looked incredible in white tie and black tails, and a wash of emotion flooded Eve's system at seeing him again. Until that moment, she hadn't realized just how much she cared for him. She smiled with excited anticipation. Wait until you hear me sing tonight, Julian. Wait till you see how much this crowd loves me. How proud he was going to be to take her in his arms after he saw that she gained instant acceptance in his world. That she held this crowd, his crowd, in the palm of her hand. She was just about to rise and ask Scat to play one of Julian's favorite numbers when she noticed something. Julian wasn't alone. A beautiful blonde was stepping up to him. The young woman turned too quickly for Eve to see her face, but it was clear enough that she was no mere acquaintance. Julian's arm wrapped itself possessively around the girl's tiny waist, and his mouth began to whisper in her ear in an obviously tender way. A vile knot formed in Eve's throat as she watched Julian and his date move toward a cluster of club members in the corner of the room. She glanced at Scat and saw him staring at her. Obviously, Scat had seen Julian too. Crystal was right all along, Eve realized. Despite her best efforts to control her emotions, Eve felt her eyes filling with tears. Damn it. She cursed silently. Sorry. Don't you cry over him. Don't you dare. Rising quickly, she fled out a side door. Her head was spinning, and she knew she needed either some fresh air or a loaded gun. But the sad truth of it was, if a gun were placed in her hands right now, Eve honestly didn't know whether she would point it at Julian or at herself. Ready for tomorrow's rematch with TC Russell? Asked Tommy Biddles, swirling the gin and tonic in his hand. Of course, answered Julian, his arm tightening around Ivy. Fuck. Don't be a quitter. It's because I'm so distracted. Everything that I do is a distraction from what I'm feeling. It sucks. I suck. I really suck. Ouch. The fuck? How was that red? Like my lipstick. My nose holes are open. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know what else they would be, but they are open. I cannot believe. Well, I can't believe anything. I have soap on my face. Alright. Of course, answered Julian, his arm tightening around Ivy's chiffon-covered waist. Ivy here will be my good luck charm. Not that I need it. Russell may be good, but I'm far better, I assure you. Julian had arrived late to the ball because he'd first taken Ivy for a romantic drive along the coast road. The summer night was quite pleasant, and she actually seemed to enjoy the relaxing ride in his convertible, taking in the spectacular sunset and the fresh sea air. He was actually sorry they had to end their private time together by coming to the crowded country club. The second he stepped through the ballroom doors, he'd been swamped by a gang of fellow members, many of whom had lost badly to Julian's superior skills on the tennis court. Julian could see how eager they all were to play him in tomorrow's regional men's singles tournament. This year, it was even going to be locally televised. What's that I hear? Crane, asked Darius Webster, a 28-year-old banker, as he strode up to the small group around Julian. You say you'll beat TC Russell, do you? You know, there are quite a few members betting otherwise. Then I suppose they'll lose their bets, won't they, Darius? Just like the Russell kid is going to lose tomorrow. I hold the title, don't forget. I haven't forgotten, countered Darius, but neither have I forgotten the day the great Julian Crane, undefeated on the Harmony tennis courts, was trounced by the son of a caddy. Do you remember that match 5 years ago, Biddles? Quite an upset, wasn't it? I'll never forget Alistair Crane's face. Julian had worked hard at keeping his rage under control at the very mention of that humiliating match. His body stiffened and his fist clenched at Ivy's side. TC Russell will never beat me again, Julian insisted through gritted teeth. No caddy's son can make a streak of luck last that long. I should hope not, insisted Darius. I mean, really, the kid trained on rackets we threw away. It was quite humiliating for the club, if you recall. Oh, stuff it, Darius, cut in Tommy. Russell simply caught Julian on a down day, so stop trying to get a rise out of him and go suck down another pitcher of martinis. Julian nearly burst out laughing when he saw Darius' face turn redder than the stripes on the decoration committee's Independence Day banners. With an arrogant sniff, the man turned on his heel and headed off straight for the bar. Julian noted. Thanks, Tommy, said Julian, feeling his blood pressure ease a little. And you're quite right. I won't be losing to TC a second time, I guarantee it. I certainly hope not, said Tommy, rolling his eyes as he mocked Darius Webster's ridiculously serious tone. The club's reputation is on the line now. Julian laughed with Tommy, but deep down, he knew that, in fact, those sentiments were true. And he was heading for disaster tomorrow. He had not practiced long enough or hard enough to retain his men's singles title. Losing it to another club member might be tolerated by Alistair, but if Julian dared to lose it to T.C. Russell, his father would likely slice and dice him with his newly purchased samurai sword. Julian! Relieved to have a reason to stop thinking about tomorrow's match, Julian did not finally do anything. Julian turned to find Tommy's sister, Tiffany Biddles, rushing up to him. I just wanted to thank you, Julian, for finding the new band. The entertainment committee is just thrilled with the crowd's reaction. What new band? Julian asked. The Scat Perkins 5, of course. They were on a break, but look, they're just about to start playing again. The Scat Perkins 5? Julian murmured with dread. He couldn't believe it. He vaguely recalled telling Scott to mention his name at Harmony Country Club, but he had no idea the man would take him up on it. When Julian finally turned up and looked at the bandstand, his breathing completely stopped. The Scat Perkins 5 was up there, all right, but that wasn't the only surprise. Ladies and gentlemen, announced Scat, please welcome back our lovely songbird. The warm applause bolstered Eve's courage as she climbed the bandstand and approached the microphone. With her trembling hands hidden behind her, she nodded to Scat, then closed her eyes and began to sing. I see you there. What am I supposed to sing that? Across the room, with her you dare to play your tune. You've done me wrong, oh, you've done me wrong tonight. Eve opened her eyes and met Julian's stunned gaze. He stood at the back of the room, oblivious to the people chatting around him, his jaw slack. Couples packed the dance floor and swayed back and forth, listening to the singer's heart-rending blues. Whatever. Eve let every note tremble with her bittersweet emotions, every phrase shake with her devastating disappointment. The moving power of her song actually put tears in the eyes of some of the women listening. I trusted you, you lied to me. I cared for you, you sighed to me. Your loving words, your loving lies. Now go to her and break all ties. With me your song is over now. 'Cause you done me wrong, you done me wrong. You done me wrong tonight. Julian appeared shocked, clearly comprehending Eve's message. He didn't seem to know what to do, beyond standing and staring, never breaking his hold on Eve's gaze. The rest of the room continued to dance, oblivious to the crackling arc of communication between the two lovers. Hearing the beautiful music, Julian's pretty blonde date began to tug at his sleeve. From across the room, Eve watched this interplay with curiosity. She couldn't see the girl's face, but it appeared she was asking Julian to dance with her. Julian's response was to shudder in obvious horror. Then he took the girl's... Fuck you, Kristen. Then he took the girl's arm and practically dragged her away from the ballroom. He's running, Eve realized, fleeing from my song. That was how she targeted him, of course, not with a gun, but with a set of loaded lyrics aimed straight between his eyes, and he was running away. That was his return to volley to her. And from the stage, Eve felt its impact like a bullet. It hit her hard, somewhere in the middle of her chest, forcing her to finally see Julian for what he was, a coward and a cad. He was willing to dance with Eve only if they remembered their places, only when she was up here on the stage and not down there as a member of Julian's club. Clearly, she was nothing more than a plaything to Julian, an anonymous entertainer to his wealthy friends. The pain of that realization put an emotional power in Eve's voice that no one in her audience had ever before heard in a singer. Couples actually stopped dancing to stare in awe at the stage and whisper with their praise. Eve refused to stop singing, refused to give up her last bit of dignity. She was the best damn jazz singer in New England right now, and she was going to finish this song and this gig. Unaware of Eve's turmoil, the couples ripped into deafening applause after she finished. This was the most amazing singer some of them had ever heard. Utterly entranced, her audience felt certain that whoever she was, this woman was a brilliant star in the making. Julian had never in his life experienced a more powerful emotional moment. Eve had stripped raw her feelings and let them bare right here in this crowded ballroom. For him, my God, realized Julian, I cannot lose this incredible woman. What's wrong? Asked Ivy, standing wrapped in his arms. Why don't you want to dance? My most precious romance, he murmured. What? Rubbing the back of his neck, Julian tried like hell to pull himself together. I have to obey father. I must, but I cannot lose Eve. A painful band of stark fear began squeezing Julian's heart, his lungs. Suddenly, he was having trouble breathing. Julian, what precious romance? What are you talking about? I meant that I want us to enjoy a precious romance tonight, Ivy. Julian, I already told you. In the car, I came out with you as a friend. That's all. We need to be alone. Julian suddenly insisted. Ignoring Ivy's protest, he rushed her out of the ballroom doors, taking one last glance back. Eve was gorgeous tonight, in a red satin gown that shimmered over her sweet curves. His diamond collar wrapped gorgeously around her lovely throat. You're mine, Eve, and you're going to stay that way. No matter who Julian had to marry to please his damn father, he would not risk losing Eve as his mistress. Of that, he was certain. Like preserving the finest cognac he'd ever tasted, Julian knew he had to do whatever he could to protest the vintage of his affair with Eve. He didn't know how he was going to do that yet, but he'd find a way. Getting Ivy out of the club was the first thing he could think to do. As for the second, he'd keep thinking. He'd come up with something before the night was through. I'm stopping. Well, maybe I should. Oh. Julian is in love with Eve. Eve is in love with Julian. Ivy's in love with Sam. All the parents have interfered.